Hello, Kentucky. If one of the Kentucky guys had to leave, would it be Mitch Barnhart or Mark Pope? It seems fans are out of patience with Pope and Mitch Barnhart. What will happen if the wins stop coming? Let's get to the news. While Kentucky tries to find stability amidst inconsistent results in its main sports, an uncomfortable question has been circulating with increasing force among fans. If a drastic decision had to be made, would it fall on Mitch Barnhart or Mark Pope? The question doesn't necessarily stem from an immediate desire for change, but from an attempt to understand where patience ends and responsibility begins in a program accustomed to high standards. Barnhart has been at the head of the athletic department for over 2 decades and has built a resume that, broadly analyzed, is difficult to dispute. Under his leadership, Kentucky accumulated significant achievements in various sports, consolidated its volleyball program as a national powerhouse, and experienced the most victorious period in the history of American football with Mark Stoops. In men's basketball, the national title with John Calipari remains a landmark. Institutionally, Barnhart was always seen as an influential and respected athletic director, capable of securing resources and visibility for the program. The problem is that, in the sports that truly define Kentucky's identity, the prevailing feeling today is one of decline. In basketball, heavy contractual decisions ended up reducing room for maneuver when results began to fall. The practically lifetime contract granted to Calipari, while understandable at the time, coincided with a period of profound frustrations in the postseason, culminating in historic eliminations and a gradual loss of competitiveness. In football, the script was similar, with a large extension for Stoops followed by disappointing seasons that made a change in leadership inevitable. This history weighs heavily on the current debate because it helps explain why some fans see Barnhart as someone who, by betting on long and expensive contracts, ended up weakening the natural mechanisms of accountability. When wins disappear, the cost of reacting becomes too high, both financially and politically. It is in this scenario that Mark Pope emerges as a central figure. Signed in April 2024 amidst widespread distrust, he arrived with more emotional attachment than elite credentials. Even so, his first year delivered something the program hadn't seen in a long time: a presence in the Sweet 16 and a 24-win season, with significant victories against heavyweight opponents. It wasn't a perfect season, but it was enough to restore some optimism and justify the automatic contract extension. Now, the tide has turned. The uneven start to the current season, coupled with losses against high-level opponents and the absence of recruitment commitments for the 2026 class, has fueled the impatience of a base accustomed to quick responses. For many, the argument is simple. Kentucky has invested heavily, expects immediate results, and sees no clear signs of consistent growth. For others, the analysis requires more caution, considering Pope's short tenure and the inherited rebuilding context. The financial factor, however, acts as a powerful brake. Thanks to the extension activated by Sweet 16, a dismissal would now cost approximately $17.6 million, making any abrupt move unrealistic. In practice, this pushes the program towards a patient stance, even amidst external noise. At the same time, rumors are emerging that Barnhart may be nearing the end of his cycle, with the possibility of retirement opening space for the first major change in athletic leadership since 2002. If this is confirmed, the impact would be profound, not only because of the change in command, but also because of the chance to redefine the department's administrative philosophy at a critical moment. Thus, the debate ceases to be solely about who is winning or losing games. It then becomes a matter of structure, long-term vision, and the weight of decisions accumulated over the years. If victories don't come, the pressure will naturally increase, both on Pope and on Barnhart. The difference is that one of them is still at the beginning of his career, while the other carries with him the legacy and the consequences of choices made over more than 2 decades. Kentucky, therefore, is at a rare crossroads. And now, which path should it take? The Kentucky basketball season, although marked by difficulties and below-expected results so far, is not yet lost. On the contrary, as college basketball analysts point out, the Wildcats remain in contention for a spot in the prestigious NCAA tournament, March Madness, an event that, historically, is practically natural territory for the legendary Lexington franchise. This prospect, even amidst a tumultuous start to the season, is a direct reflection of the institutional resilience that has always defined Kentucky as one of the most powerful programs in college sports. It's impossible to ignore the adversities faced by the team in the first weeks of the season. A schedule full of difficult non-conference matchups put the Wildcats under pressure from the start. The loss to Louisville was just the prelude to even greater challenges, such as the humiliating defeat to Gonzaga in Nashville, a game that, although technically neutral, had all the hallmarks of a home game for the Bulldogs in front of their home crowd. More recently, the unexpected loss at Rupp Arena to Missouri, a team considered inferior on paper, has amplified concerns about Mark Pope's team's ability to deliver consistent results when most needed. However, the current scenario isn't as bleak as it might seem at first glance. Despite a 0-2 start in the SEC, Kentucky still has some significant wins on its record. Victories against Indiana and St. John's, both respectable teams, are clear examples that Pope's roster has the potential to compete at high level. Furthermore, the projection of a possible 10th place among the NCAA tournament seedings demonstrates that, even with its flaws, the program is still in a competitive position. What this means in practice is that the upcoming games will be crucial to consolidating this position and ensuring Kentucky achieves its minimum objective, a place in March Madness. The upcoming games, especially against Mississippi State and LSU, represent concrete opportunities for the Wildcats to begin building a winning streak. The game against the Bulldogs, in particular, will be crucial. With a 10-5 record this season and a promising start in the conference, 2-0, Mississippi State isn't exactly an easy opponent, but it's certainly an accessible team for Kentucky, especially playing at home, where the atmosphere at Rupp Arena is often an intimidating factor for any visitor. A convincing victory in this matchup could serve as a turning point, injecting confidence into the team and establishing a new rhythm for the campaign. What makes this moment even more interesting is how Mark Pope has been leading the team. Although the results haven't been satisfactory so far, his public stance reveals a coach aware of the responsibilities he carries in leading a program of Kentucky's caliber. His willingness to take responsibility for current difficulties and his clarity in acknowledging the team's shortcomings are signs of maturity and leadership. In an environment where the pressure is constant and expectations are astronomical, these qualities can make all the difference in the final stretch of the season. Furthermore, it's worth remembering that college basketball is a sport where dynamics can change rapidly. Young, often inexperienced players have the ability to evolve throughout the season, especially when guided by a coach capable of adjusting strategies and extracting the maximum from their talents. In Kentucky's case, the combination of elite recruits and veterans adapted to the program offers a solid foundation for the team to find its ideal rhythm. If Pope can align this mix of skills with a more consistent tactical approach, there is enough room for the Wildcats to reassert themselves as a force to be reckoned with in the SEC. This is a program accustomed to facing challenges and emerging stronger from moments of crisis. Recent college basketball history is full of examples of teams that started poorly but found their way over the course of the season, and few programs have resources, tradition, and support comparable to the Wildcats. Even if the start of this campaign has been disappointing, the journey is still underway, and the final destination remains undefined. For Mark Pope and his team, the message is clear. The time for adjustments is over. Now is the time for results. Every win from this point on will be crucial, not only to secure qualification for the NCAA tournament, but also to restore fan confidence and reaffirm Kentucky's status. I want to see how this plays out. Amid a period of uncertainty and change for Kentucky football, recent news has brought relief and optimism to Wildcats fans. Willie Rodriguez, a tight end who has already demonstrated great potential in his short time in the program, has decided to return for another season in Lexington. In a transfer cycle that saw several players leave the roster, Rodriguez's continued presence is a significant victory for Coach Will Stein and his coaching staff, reinforcing the idea that Kentucky is building something solid, something worth staying for. Rodriguez, who began to gain prominence as a freshman in 2024, had a remarkable leap in his second season in college football. With 23 receptions for 310 yards in 2025, he proved to be much more than just a traditional blocker, a role often associated with tight ends in the past. His versatility was particularly evident in crucial moments of last season. Against Vanderbilt, for example, he played a central role, recording 6 receptions for 78 yards, helping Kentucky maintain control of the game. Furthermore, he scored his first college touchdown against Eastern Michigan, a symbolic moment that marked the beginning of his rise as a reliable offensive weapon. Rodriguez's decision to remain at Kentucky reflects a number of positive factors for the program. First, there is the confidence in new coach Will Stein and the strategic direction he is instilling in the Wildcats offense. Since his arrival, Stein has been working to modernize the offensive scheme, incorporating elements that maximize the talent available on the roster. For a player like Rodriguez, this means increasing opportunities to excel not only as a blocker, but also as a frequent target on passing plays. This multifaceted approach values the unique characteristics of its players, allowing them to explore their full potential. In addition, Rodriguez's choice to remain in Lexington can also be seen as a statement about the environment Kentucky is creating for its athletes. In an era where the transfer market offers countless options for dissatisfied players, the decision to stay is always significant. She suggests that Rodriguez sees value in the project being built under Stein's leadership and recognizes the role he can play as a key piece in the development of the offense. After all, the tight end position is historically crucial in teams seeking a balance between running and passing, and Rodriguez seems ready to assume that responsibility. Looking ahead to 2026, expectations are high for Willie Rodriguez. With 2 seasons of experience under his belt and an offensive system that promises to continue evolving, he has everything he needs to take a leap in his performance. His physique, receiving skills, and ability to contribute both in the passing and running game make him a constant threat to opposing defenses. More than individual numbers, however, it is Rodriguez's integration into the collective offense that could define Kentucky's success next season. Willie Rodriguez's continued presence also sends an important message to the rest of the roster and future recruits. Kentucky is committed to creating an environment where players can thrive. In a sport where loyalty is often tested by the pursuit of playing time or national exposure, Rodriguez's decision to remain in Lexington is a clear sign that the program is on the right track. He embodies the type of player Stein wants to attract and retain: talented, resilient, and committed to the team's growth. While Kentucky continues to navigate the turbulent waters of the offseason, the news of Willie Rodriguez's staying serves as a reminder that all is not lost. On the contrary, there is reason to believe that the Wildcats are building something special. With Stein at the helm and players like Rodriguez willing to embrace the challenge, the future looks promising. Let's see how this comeback goes. Comment,